As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
My message to all Americans: do not trust Kamala Harris.
Do you think the last election was stolen?
Yikes.
I think the last election was totally rigged.
Yes! An interesting release from Make America Healthy Again, led by Team Kennedy, absolutely obliterates Kamala Harris in this 3-minute mini documentary on who this person actually is. And they publish this on X. They say, "Dear Kamala Harris, the vast majority of American men have no issue with electing a female president," which is true. "Our issue lies solely with you. Your reputation precedes you. You defined yourself by a relentless pursuit of power from your tenure as California's AG to the present day. Your track record presents concerns that we cannot overlook. You are simply a risk we are not willing to take. And so now is the time to make America healthy again." Here it is from the Maha team.
Dear Kamala Harris, let's get one thing crystal clear. The vast majority of American men have no issue with electing a female president. Our issue lies solely with you. You were second in charge of California for 13 years.
As California's Attorney General, Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
If you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops that wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there and I said, when you go over there, look really mean.
She had me arrested and prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. That person could be arrested, they could lose time from work, and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community.
I lost my job and couldn't pay rent, and we got evicted.
Weeks later, I could dismiss the charges, but their life would forever be changed.
I became homeless. We had to move into a motel.
All because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't agree what Kamala Harris did to my mom, and I don't agree with what she's done to other parents as well.
You were second in charge of the United States for 4 years.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Inflation is hitting the highest level in 39 years. A record high number of illegal crossings.
Crime's been surging across the nation.
Huge spikes in homicides.
Could we be heading toward World War III?
After 17 years of failed leadership, you are now asking us to trust you as first in charge of our country.
I am concerned and focused on big issues. Elementary and middle school truancy is actually a big issue. If we're trying to save the state money, because of truancy, California public schools lose $1.4 billion a year in funding. I want money.
My message to all Americans: do not trust Kamala Harris.
As men and protectors of women and children, you are simply a risk we are not willing to take.
Wild. So great video from the Maha Alliance. Now, Kamala Harris, in the meantime, is trying to create some more joy or something. And so she duped a bunch of people into coming out and attending one of her rallies. But apparently it was a bait and switch. In fact, they were going to bring Beyonce out, and apparently Beyonce didn't do any singing. They thought it was going to be a concert, but no. NBC reported that the pop singer was going to be there. She was expected to perform, is what they said when they were reporting this. Said one source who had direct knowledge of this, because Beyonce's from Houston, Harris was there. She also brought in Bruce Springsteen and Eminem and others. But the Washington Post said that there may be false rumors. Long story short, she didn't show up. And so Kamala Harris' rally descended into chaos, said Colin Rugg. Boos and yelling were heard from the crowd, and Harris couldn't even get him to calm down. And here's what it sounded like.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Seems like you're pretty distracted right now. You can still hear him. All right, interesting. Having a tough time over there. You hear those boos in the background. And apparently that's because there was no Beyonce. Kamala was getting boos. People realized they were lied to and Beyonce wasn't going to sing. Descended into chaos. People were heckling Kamala like crazy all night, and the Secret Service was stressed out, says Alex Stein. Let's see what this exchange sounded like. That person's getting escorted out. I don't know what's going on over there. That's who she's looking over to over here. Interesting. All right, so you can see things got a little bit rowdy over there, and some of the joy appears to be gone. Says all of these attendees could have watched her speak from their living room, but there were apparently a bunch of people that came out there, 30,000 people you could squeeze in there. And is this a bait and switch, or is it a bait and switch? Oh, that's very clever. I said what's her name? Beyonce thing. And Team Kamala, you'd have to ask the people who attended whether it was a bait and switch, but maybe they're just used to being defrauded. That's a good question. Good point. So very fun or not so fun times over there, having a hard time. Here was another one. Says Kamala made it sound like Beyonce was going to be performing, and then her fans threw a fit after they didn't get a free concert. What's going on over here? Is this happening at the Harris Walls? They have Harris Walls screaming at kids? I don't know what's going on, but you can see it's pretty gruesome out there. People screaming at each other. So anyways, meanwhile, Kamala Harris, their people are melting down. So Newt Gingrich was out, and he was explaining on with the two-way folks that things are getting desperate for them. He says, they're smart people. They have huge resources. So I would worry about a late October or early November surprise. Oh gosh, what could this be?
If you were Mar-a-Lago, what were the three biggest worries you'd have about the race right now be?
Whether or not it'll be stolen.
Yeah.
First of all.
Watching it happen.
Because as you know, I said as early as 1973, you have to win by at least 4% or the Democrats will steal.
Yeah, they're stealing.
My view of that has not changed. I think Philadelphia, it's harder to steal because you now have young black males who are for Trump. I think that changes, but that'd be my first real concern. My second concern would be whether or not I can get the vast number of low propensity voters who used to be Democrats and are now Republicans, at least in terms of generational patterns. Can I really get them to vote? Can I match election day, having already overmatched the pre-election day vote would be a major concern. And the third would be, as you've pointed out correctly over and over again, when you have the entire media establishment bitterly opposed to you. And if after Sunday it sinks in that Madison Square Garden was a huge success and that he's rolling to victory, what are they going to do? I mean, if you're Trump, you have to think they will do literally anything to stop him.
Yeah.
And they're smart people and they have huge resources. So I would worry about the late October, early November surprise.
Do you think the last election was stolen?
Yikes.
I think the last election was totally rigged.
Yes!
Was it stolen?
Totally rigged. It was rigged when they cut off the New York Post.
Yeah,
it was
no,
rigged when the intelligence officers said, okay,
but you said, no,
I use the word
difference.
stolen because do I believe it's possible for big city machines to steal votes? Do I believe it's possible for people, as they did in Minnesota one year, to suddenly find an entire box full of ballots in the trunk of a car after the election?
Did big cities steal votes to help Biden win in 20?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Look,
Is there evidence? There's a difference between 51 intelligence officers and Silicon Valley. There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between those things. Well, that's rigged. But you said one of your worries about this election was that it would be stolen, and there's no evidence that I know of.
Mark, you and I are just going to disagree. I've been in this business longer than you have. I actually directly dealt with people who stole elections, and I watched them do it. When we were in
the last presidential election that was stolen.
When we were
2020,
in the White House,
that one,
and everything was going great, and suddenly about 11 o'clock at night, state after state stopped counting.
Yeah.
From that moment on, I assumed it was rigged. I assumed the answer was Trump ain't going to win.
It was 11,000 votes in Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin.
Places where judges, by the way, didn't rule against the substance. They ruled against the procedure.
And the standing and the
that's not always true. I don't believe you contribute to having confidence in this election.
Why would we?
Conflate Silicon Valley and 51 intelligence officers with evidence-free allegations that the election was stolen by big cities.
When the Justice Department interferes in Virginia in order to stop them from making sure that no illegals vote, and I think we can go through a whole list of things that are going on right now. You and I just disagree. And I don't think it's because I'm paranoid. It's because I have a lifetime of experience watching watching the Democratic machine in close races, including, for example, stealing Indiana 9th in 1984. Literally stealing. It wasn't close. So my view is, you ask me what I would worry about. What I would worry about is whether or not, in desperation, at the last minute, because they have nothing left, they are prepared to do that. I hope they're not, but I look at Detroit, I look at Philadelphia, I look at Phoenix. It strikes me that and I look at the number of people who have been registered without photo ID and in many cases without citizenship.
Totally. Thank you.
All those things worry me. You asked me what I worried about.
Ukava.
No, I understand.
Agree with me.
I'm happy to have you put it on the list. I just don't want to conflate a lot of the things you listed, including potentially stealing a house race, with the notion. I mean, I think the words are pretty clear in their meaning. The difference between stealing election and doing improper things, which you've listed some of, on which you and I agree on a lot of things. 51 intelligence officers, Silicon Valley. That's different than saying there's bosses in Philadelphia who say, how many votes do we need? And let's get them. I don't begrudge you.
Absolutely, that's happening.
I just want to make clear that in 2020, there's no evidence that that thing happened. That's the only point I was making.
I don't want to relitigate 2020, but I would tell you that anybody who is not worried about people without any vote, any ID, people who may well not be American citizens, the whole range of things going on, the Justice Department filing suits to block states from cleaning up their rolls, you may not think any of that's suspicious. As a Republican, having with the Democratic Party my entire career, and by the way, Indiana was stolen. It was stolen, and Leon Panetta did it. I was there. It was the first great breakthrough in the Republicans deciding I had to be their leader because they were so enraged by the way it was done. So I'm just saying, I don't think it will happen. I think Trump will win by too big a margin.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if we were down to the last 500 votes, I'd be really worried.